Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic.
And we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then, do it for your children.
Black book is in his back.
Black
book.
Men Talk, Black Book. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the host of Epic Conversations and the home of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Blk Men Care, and being part of that movement, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 500,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you are hanging out with Blk Men CAN Talk with Kofi Sadat and Kofi Morris. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Too blessed to be stressed. I'm good, my brother.
Love that. Love that. Love that. And Kofi Morris, how are you? Kofi Morris is frozen. Okay, no problem. We'll get him back in a moment. He'll tell us what's going on. So, Mr. Sadat, as always, give us a win.
Oh, wow. I definitely got 2 wins for the week. One of the wins was I celebrated my 26-year anniversary this week. So, very happy about that. And then today, my son let me know what university he's going to. It's been a big drum roll around here. So he'll be going to Guelph University.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Taking biology and zoology out there. So very happy for that. So those are the wins for the week. It's personal, it's family. So I'm loving it, though.
Congratulations. And let's see if Kofi Morris is with us. Mr. Morris, are you with us?
I'm blessed, bro. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. What's going on in your world?
No, give it thanks, Brian. Give it thanks. I'll say hello, but you couldn't hear me. Welcome. Give it thanks for another blessed day. You done know, doing the creator's work. You know why we're here, so we're thankful. You're asking about wins, and I think a couple of them are health related, and a couple of them are business related. So I'll start with the health. I've been trying to push this, get my 10,000 steps in and what have you. And I think one of the things we forget sometimes, even as we're trying to set and hit certain goals, that we're also gentle with ourselves in the midst of the process. So I've been hitting them, the days that I don't, I'm not killing myself. I'm just resetting the clock for another day. At that again, music perspective, creative perspective, United Mike's project is about to launch in community. So those that are, artists, spoken word artists, reggae artists, R&B, Black music in general, are gonna have an opportunity to submit their music and their tracks to this up and coming project, 25-year anniversary project. 2000. So looking forward to connecting and sharing some of the works that are happening on that end as we launch.
Wonderful. And when is this project going to go live?
So this summer it'll be going live. I'll drop a date and all that stuff on our most likely on our next show. But submissions are still open for music, so you can definitely connect with me at mikesunited@gmail.com, and we'll share some more information, at the end of the show as well.
Nice.
Excellent. And what's the reason for you doing this project at this time?
Well, for one, outside from the 25th anniversary, it's also we've been pulled for quite some time to relaunch this project, and it's epic because again, there's a lot of buzz right now in Toronto for music, for good quality music, music that defies some of what we hear on the top 40 tracks and all this kind of stuff that's airing on the radio. think there's a true need for quality, soulful, engaging music by artists that come from the city. Some of them, grassroots artists that came up and has been doing that thing for a while, and some of them are younger artists that are coming out and want to, so we're actually merging those two worlds of intergenerational music and creativity. We were talking about the gap between the older folks and the younger folks for quite some time. So we found that utilizing creative means is a great way to connect both of those worlds from a knowledge, wisdom perspective, and also from a young, energetic, vibrant, passionate energy, merging those worlds together.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Nice.
Good stuff. Fantastic.
What's the vibe? What's the win for the week or the wins? What's going on?
Well, I'll do just one. I had the opportunity over the last 2 or 3 weeks to get to know a young man better. And we had a really good conversation. He started telling me about his dad and how much he loves his dad. He basically said that if it wasn't for his dad, he wouldn't be where he is in the world today, in somewhat good place. And it seemed that I got a bit of the story, but he was saying backtrack that when his dad was growing up, his dad's mother passed away when he was 5 years old. And his dad's father passed away when he was 9 years old. And I know there's some more stuff going on with foster parenting, and I just began talking about him to feel that he was in a brave and safe place with me sharing that story.
Right.
It got me really emotional about that, and I don't take that lightly because it's personal stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
That's really personal stuff, and and it sounds like his father is. I guess I'm challenging the father's not employed right now, so this young gentleman works night shift. So all these things, I was just saying, wow. And I said, have you ever told your dad, what you told me today? And he said, no. He says, I make a suggestion. Tell him that one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell him that one day. So that was a really special moment.
It's a big win. I was just talking.
Huge.
Just talking to somebody about the importance of just, for men and women in our community, but for men in this case, just to be an open vessel for younger men to speak to, whatever it is, and for men to be open to that, right? It's so important, right? 100%. It may seem like a small thing, but it's super important because, like you said, sometimes you're not even having those conversations with your biological.
Yep.
Right? So it's beautiful to see that.
No, that was, and this thing about now just making me reflect and just feel so humbled.
Right.
In regards to that. So we got some people already making comments here. Someone saying, Hotep Brothers, good to have you here. And says, a show such as this show is very much needed. That's received.
Thank you.
That's received. And continue. Well, it's your show too. It's not just us on the screen. It's all of our shows. So if it's the first time, I don't think I've seen your name before in the comments, but if I haven't, if you've been here before and I don't remember you, it's my head, not my heart. And please feel free to continue to make this conversation great and subscribe wherever you're watching this. So I think, anything else before we go to break?
We're good.
We're good. All right. Let's hop, skip, and jump to break. So let's do this and let's do this. And we'll be back in 30 seconds after a break.
Check out Primetime Saturdays with Aisha and Lala.
We're live every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
With Aisha K. Staggers
and Laura Lala Key.
Where we try to make sense of the nonsense
going on in American politics and culture.
You don't want to miss it.
We'll see you on Saturday. Watch Black Canada Talking live on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, where Dr. Vibe and Cesar de Mamusa give their takes and POVs on news stories from a Black Canadian perspective.
Okay, we are back, and hopefully Kofi Morris is back. We lost him for a second. Now he seems to be back. Are you back, Mr. Morris?
Live and direct, brother. Live and direct.
Okay, excellent. Good to have you back in the house. All right. So, a little housekeeping here. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibe.show.com. Also, don't forget the ADNC Native Power Summit at the Aqua Supper Club in Toronto, happening on July 25th from 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. There's the link there. And what's that all about? Well, if you want to get a game plan, a playbook on how to make an impact on the digital streets, that is where you need to go, especially featured guest Philip Scott, who is in charge of the ADNC network on YouTube that gets over 19 million visits every month, who started on his own. So that is the game plan. All right. Who would like to introduce our friend for the evening?
Mr. Morris, Mr. Kofi, are you good? Are you frozen?
He's frozen again.
He's unfrozen now. Go ahead, Kofi. Can you do the introductions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, two things. I'm going to begin. I'm going to read a little bit, of course, of the bio. But just from a perspective of knowing this brother for quite some time, he's been doing some amazing work, in the Durham region and surrounding areas, working with men from a different perspective, as he, speaks of himself as identity architect. Brenton Alleyne, founder of Experiencia. He's a gentleman, culture builder, helper, helping leaders lead from identity, not image. So I met Brenton as a barber, as a entrepreneur, as somebody who was cutting edge in a lot of his perspectives and vision around business and how he would conduct business, in the Durham region area. I'd say in a lot of ways he's pioneered a lot of this work around culture, leading from this place of identity. I met him in various different capacities in that area, but with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Brenton Alleyne.
There we go. He
Welcome,
is
sir.
and there we go. He is there.
Peace. Brenton, how are you doing, brother?
Can you hear? Here.
Hopefully you can hear us well.
Brenton cannot hear us at the moment. Okay.
You did send me a message. Let me just check.
Yeah, I think he's trying to speak.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Are you? Hello?
there we go.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Welcome. Are you driving or are you being chauffeured?
I'm in the back seat here.
Okay, so you're being chauffeured. Well done. The way to do virtual interviews while you're traveling and being chauffeured. Very nice.
So, how you guys doing this evening?
We're good. We're fine. We're great, brother. How are you doing?
Yeah, we can.
Outstanding. There's a little bit of a delay, but nothing too crazy. So, who wants to kick it off with the questions for Mr. Alleyne?
You want to go ahead, Kofi?
For sure, I'll go ahead. And I'll actually just start with a little bit for the listeners that haven't been exposed to your work and what you've been doing in the Durham region for quite some time. If you could just break it down a little bit, explain a little bit of your journey, thus far, and things that maybe folks would not know about you as an entrepreneur and as a leading architect.
Something being said, I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, we are having some technical chat. Oh, we've lost him. Okay. Yeah, let's just. Okay. Can you hear us?
Hear you, yes.
Okay, Kofi, you're going to have to probably repeat what you just said.
Perfect. Can you hear me now? Everything's good? You can hear me?
I don't hear Kofi though.
Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me?
Okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Vibe. You can try.
Brenton, can you hear me?
I hear your voice, but I don't hear Kofi's.
Okay, I will kick it off. That it's not done on
Yes.
purpose.
There you go.
So
Questions are all yours, Dr. Vibe.
no. We'll see what we can do. So let me ask you to start off our conversation. What does it mean to carry your grandfather Pollard's name, and how has that shaped your approach to grooming and business?
Wow. Okay, so you guys did some homework here. Yeah, there's a great weight of responsibility, and it's an honor. It's a pleasure, but it also anchors in purpose because I didn't know that he was a groomer until his last 2 years. He was in the hospital and he was dealing with an aneurysm, and he was crying in the middle of a haircut in the washroom bathroom. And I thought I was hurting him. I was in pain, and I was asking him, "Is everything okay?" And he said, "I just didn't know it would go this far." And so I said, "Is it your disease, your ailment?" He goes, "No, I didn't realize that you guys would have taken the barbering this far." And so I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we used to cut back in the veranda, and then your great grandfather used to do it in Barbados on the railroad tracks."
Mm.
So this is all something I discovered 20 years after I was already cutting. So I began cutting. I didn't know that this was already in the blood. So I discovered that later. I was already his grandson, of course, but I was picking up a lineage that was existing beforehand. So when I heard that, it really gave a sense of pride, a sense of purpose, and also a sense of curiosity that there must be something more. Because although I wasn't instructed to pick up the mantle, I already had.
All right, Paul Kofi, Kofi Sadat, can see if you can Brenton can hear you because I know he can hear me.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Brenton? Can you hear me? No,
Yeah. No.
no. I think it's
If,
just so. We'll give you the question. We'll give you the questions.
Or type them in the chat, in the private chat. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what question would you like me to
should I
ask?
log out and try to log back in?
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is very weird because I can hear you guys well.
We
So
can hear
maybe
you.
if he logs out and logs back in, we can resolve the issue.
Yeah.
That's the easy hack when you have things like this happening on.
Right.
So, good, gentlemen, we're speaking to Brendan. We'll come back on and we'll be able to hear him properly. What questions or what things are you looking forward to asking him?
Well, I like what he mentioned about lineage, right? And the awareness of lineage, and probably want to ask him how important is that for Black boys and Black men to really lean into understanding their lineage and how that might impact where they're going in the future. So the awareness of your lineage, because a lot of us may not have that awareness, right? In terms of what did our great grandfathers do? What did our grandfather do? What did like a lot of times you look into it. So what is the importance in that connection? How does that shape your future potentially, right? So I want to ask him a little about that. Some stuff about the identity piece and the culture. But hopefully we get him back sooner than later. But I thought it was an amazing story he just shared about his his unawareness, right, or him discovering that, wait a minute, this is bigger than me, right? This is something that, and what does it hold even for the next generation? I'd love to ask him that. Yeah. What about yourself, Kofi?
Man, so many questions come to mind. Again, as you spoke about, as you're mentioning about the lineage and the connection between recognizing that this thing that you've been doing for 20 years, was rooted in your culture. Sometimes you come across folks that are living in their purpose, not even recognizing how it connects, ancestrally, right? I guess a part of my question would be, what does he see for the future relative to that? And does he see it as in, passing this on, to his children or, to young people around him or what have you? Is that something that he sees as as part of like a responsibility that he carries. What does that look like?
Okay.
Amidst
Let's see if we can get him back this time. Okay. Brenton.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kofi Morris.
Can you hear us, Brent?
Yes. Now I hear you, brother.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes,
Can you hear
yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you two at it now. You three go at it now. Go do your thing.
So you were just mentioning about the story about your grandfather, the importance of lineage, and not even knowing sometimes that these things are in the blood.
Yes.
So in terms of that, how do you think that impacts or shapes your future and the future of maybe Black men who are becoming aware of a particular family lineage, right? So you could be a griot in your family, in your case, it could be about grooming, barbershop, it could be anything else. How would that impact the future, right? Like in yourself in particular, how could it impact the future?
Yeah. Well, 'cause grooming is a multidisciplinary art. And so the barbering was one strand of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, like when I shared the story, I was trying to allude to the fact that the curiosity came because it wasn't that somebody was showing me that was the path.
Mm.
It just called out to me because actually, as Kofi would know, when I was younger, I did this through the brand of prominence, and I had left it and came back to it without once again even knowing my grandfather's connection. But when I came back to it, it came back with the understanding that it was about developing men from the inside out. And so the practice evolved to involve personal styling, image consultation, suit development, aesthetics. So we already started picking apart what does grooming really look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so it went beyond because we recognize from history in the early days of barbering, it started as the barbers were doing bloodletting, so they were cleaning the blood, right? And so think it not strange that the secrets were hidden in my blood. And so as we look at it as going to the future, we look at it that now it's focused through my lens, it's through product development, it's through mentorship, it's through identity architecture. So it's really about making sure that not only do we look good, but we're living at our highest level.
Mm. Love it. I love it.
Yes.
Brother Kofi, question or you?
Yeah, no, for sure. So when we think about the connection between, we talk about performance. We talked about this a lot on this show. Men are in a lot of ways groomed to perform, right? How do you kind of define a difference between performance and, as we talk about, authentic identity?
Yeah. Well, 'cause the thing is, most of the times when we introduce ourselves, we talk about our titles, we talk about our roles, and then the conversation strays to our positions and our possessions. And really changing that model is going down to the core of who we are from origin. So each of us were born with our identity, which is like who we are, our capacity, and our conditioning. Those things have so much packed into that. And so when you're not going to the lane of performance, you're going to the core of who you're made to be. So each of us are born with an innate gifts, talents, skills, and abilities. We're born with a design and a value that we bring to every room, every environment that we come into. So some of us inspire people to laugh through comedy or through humor, or through storytelling. Some of us provoke each other to think beyond the surface. Some of us open doors through just design and creation. But whatever it is, once we start living from that place and position of truth, it goes beyond the lane and the lens of performance because we're not doing it just to get a response. We're doing it to live, creating a difference.
I love it. I love it.
100%. What comes to mind is, has that been challenged in your journey? Like, this whole piece around living to create a difference, because sometimes we can be swayed, pulled in different directions. Opportunities come, we can pursue them. I remember early on in the journey of entrepreneurship, we used to have conversations. And one of the things Brent used to say is pick one lane. Or you can be multifaceted, pick one lane. So how does this piece around living, you know, creating a difference and maintaining that while not, you know, getting broadsided or going in other directions? How's that kind of played out in your life and your journey?
Yeah, well, you know, so my journey has evolved into many different things. It's always used who I am and what I do. So I've been gifted and challenged in the truth that I'm multi-talented. So the challenge of being multi-talented is that you can do many things. And so one of the compasses, the North Star that's always saved me is that I always go back to my purpose, my raison d'etre, my vision. But I found that from being a young entrepreneur, I started being an entrepreneur from 13 years old when I started barbering and doing a business back in the days. And so I was very fortunate to become very financially successful. But with every height and ceiling of success I've ever reached, it always came with a identity crisis of sort, where you know what the outside world is telling you and what sometimes the temptations, the challenges, the financial pressures, or just the mobs of people coming around you, it brings you back to ask what is true. Where are you going and why are you doing what you're doing? So I remember back in my early days running a company called Prominence. And Prominence was really about creating opportunities for our community and about men standing out and above the rest. And so doing that venture, like I hit a crashing moment where this whole business fell apart because I had overly invested who I am and what I was doing. I had a massive identity crisis where I couldn't remember who I was. And that moment back then, when I worked it all out through God's grace, God's saving grace saved me at that time. It's what anchors me now as I go forward. Because when your identity gets challenged through any circumstance, through the best of moments and the most difficult of moments, you start learning some truths about who you are in those moments. What are your default settings? What do you gravitate to? How do you behave? Do you hide? Do you run? And then now you start getting a blueprint on how to move forward. And so that's actually what informed the creation of Experiencia, because it brought me to the place of recognizing that if you're innately designed to be a butterfly, you can no longer live like a caterpillar. So one of the things is that you're going through life, things about you are changing. So you might have seen yourself as a star person working in a corporation. Now it's time to go start your own organization. You're still who you are, but you're in a different form. So when I went through these moments where I was questioning of self and questioning of purpose, to look at what is the design and where is the next environment that's built for me to go and soar.
Shay, thank you for that. So talking about that, what does that process look like when you're talking about helping people to rediscover their identity, their gifts, and their purpose? What does that process look like for those who might be interested in that?
Yeah, it's a really cool process because most people say they're trying to find themselves. You're never trying to find yourself in truth. You try to remember who you are in essence
Mm.
and how to live and convey that. Either you lost touch with it or you're looking to amplify that to another level.
Mhm.
And so some people, I just had a client who left working for an insurance company to go build their own insurance brokerage. And they felt like they totally lost themselves. And I said, you lost the point of reference that you once had.
Right.
Now you're building a new identity in who you are. So not who you are, it's how you are conveying and communicating in the world. So now you are the standard in your company, where before you had a boss and you looked to at the standards. And so that whole shift is hard for many people. It's the same thing men go through. If you're a single man, then you become a husband, you become a father. The old self-centered way dies away and a new one's being built. So what happens when somebody comes in for a session? We do a situational analysis, just assessing where they are in life, what stage, what phase of life they're in.
Right.
And we begin to just gather that data. And so as we gather that data, we start looking also as like, what was some of the conditioning that brought them to this point? And so that condition, the reason for that question is you're trying to figure out what has informed them for the better or for the challenges, I would say. Because what happens is sometimes you have to unlearn some things in order to equip yourself to go to another level. Every time we're about to evolve, there's always a cutting process. You can't just go and jump into something new. You have to do a hard cut. So through the situational analysis, we go through removing some things that are no longer relevant to where you're going so that you can have the room to keep on growing. And so from there, we start identifying what are the goals. We start looking at what are the things we're working towards, and then we start equipping respectively going forward.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Dr. Vibe.
Yeah, let me just jump in. Want to some comments here. Frequency of Event Promotion says, "Good evening, gentlemen." Also says the brother Brenton is a smooth guy. And he says had a couple of short conversations with his brother and looking forward to reconnecting. And he goes, no need to go backwards, but forward. Thanks, Brenton. I needed to hear that. So I have a conversation piece for you, sir. Let me ask, how do you see the barber's role in Black men's mental health and self-image?
Yeah, the barber is a huge role in that. Obviously, that's where I got my start. But the barber is the person who is the most exposed to a man's life. So think about it like this. The barber is usually the constant thread throughout a man's journey. Friends come and go, women come and go, come and go, but the barber is there as a constant thread. And so a lot of times people are only looking for the guy who fades the best. But one of the things you have to include is looking at, is he sound? Is he a healthy sounding board for me? Because your mental health is much more important than it is how tight your fade is. Both important. You can't drop one or the other. But including in that process of assessment, you want to make sure that you're getting a barber who's mature, a barber who's who's reading, he's well oriented, because that barber is speaking into your life. Either it's week after week, bi-weekly, whatever your frequency is, but he's a constant thread. Through my journey, I've seen guys literally go from high school to post-secondary, to their first jobs, to their next job. And that's part of the gift. Like, I seen them saying, hey, I met this girl. Then they're talking about how I'm going to marry this girl. Then they're talking about we're gonna buy a house. We're gonna raise some children. And it goes on and on. Throughout that whole thing, the guy is now sharing what he's doing, getting a perspective from us, the barbers. And if that is not sound, you're going to get misguided. So your mental health is definitely well connected to a sound barber who is pouring good wealth of information into your life.
Go ahead, gentlemen. I could ask conversation pieces for the rest of the moment, so make it happen.
I'll hop in there. We often talk about this piece around, men being taught to survive before they're taught how to feel. Being in, you've been in many different leadership capacities. How would you say that leadership shapes? Really, how does that piece around the focus on survival versus knowing and understanding what's happening internally? How does that shape leadership and our relationships later in life, as you talked about a lot of these brothers, becoming fathers, becoming husbands, and all of that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm grabbing the question right. Are you saying, does the instinct to survive? Like, I'm not sure if you could reframe that. I'm not sure if I grabbed that properly.
So again, a lot of times we're taught, how to survive. We're taught, how to be providers. We're taught a lot of that piece that you said about the possessions and the who you are in terms of your roles. how does that kind of shape leadership and our relationships as you develop further, in life, from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things. So first of all, it's like the journey of us being men is it's a sophisticated journey. It's a very important because there's a lot rightfully put on our shoulders. But one of the things that needs to always be true is that as a man, as we're all here as men, we're not a monolith. So we're not. There's more. We're multi-dimensional. And, so we share the fact that we are the same gender. We share the fact that we're the same pigmentation, but each man's experience is very different. Again, from conditioning, from capacity, from life experiences. And one of the things that are common is that we have to have a sense of navigation. So the survival instinct is a primary one. And it's through evolution we learn to evolve, because as men, regardless of what station you're in, or what you have or you don't have, you are born to be a leader. That's what it is to be a man. Be responsible for your identity, responsible for your community, be responsible for your stakeholders. Once again, regardless of your position, that is the assignment in being a man. However you express that can be unique to you, but standard remains the same. So I know that in many men's households, things look different and whatever, but the standard for what it is the same. So the assignment for leadership, it's always there. So it starts from even when we're young men, and it shows up all through our life that we're learning from the starting point of learning to lead ourselves, understanding and respecting our internal voice, understanding and respecting our internal perspective of the world, of who we are, and our role within that world. We supposed to navigate that. And so as we go throughout our journey, it's really taking the time to reflect, to meditate, to journal, to document what it is on the inside, so you can have a compass on the outside. And so as I work with my clients, it always goes back to that genesis. What is the vision? Then what is the work required to fulfill that vision? Because if we're just having a theoretical conversation about what it is to be a man, we're going to get lost. But if we start getting down to the brass tacks of who I am as a man and what's my responsibility and the work that I must do, now we're on a journey. And so the journey begins when we start tapping into what's the truth about me. And that's what I love about my job, is that I'm able to now uh, share a vision of what this person is seeing, and what is the real work we got to do to bring that forward. So as we're talking about leadership, we're talking about, so like as we're approaching the window of celebration of fatherhood, that's a very important piece to pull out, because the voice others within the home, the community, and at large needs to always be sounding out, because even as mature men, we always need to have the true north of a father calling us higher. Because a lot of times we think that we're high because we've gotten some possessions, or we gotten some money, or we gotten some status. Those are very good accomplishments, because it says that we're growing in this particular area of stewardship. But the real challenge is, are we continuing to keep reaching for the heightened potential that's available to us? But we were not to be feeling good because we've had a good conversation and we're saying good things. We're supposed to be feeling good because we're growing in the things that we're saying that we're about. We're growing in the stewardship and the mastery that this whole journey is about. So I love this journey, because it is all about leadership, and how do we lead in the right areas, and how do we lead in the most difficult and the brightest moments of our journey.
Let's give thanks, give thanks. So one of the things that I want to get a better understanding of from your perspective is, often we're challenged with the whole thing of unlearning because we're comfortable. You know what I mean? As men, we're comfortable in knowing what we know, and sometimes not going beyond that piece. So how do you tackle the challenges, when folks approach you and they're stuck at the place of moving forward, and unlearning some of the things, so they can move forward? So how do you deal with that?
a difficult place. So one of my biggest Achilles heels is that I really love people. One of the things I love about people is that I know that we're able to go as far as willing to grow. And so the difficulty is that I can't. So in a situational analysis, when the person first comes in, I can't do anything for them if they're not willing to do something for themselves.
Mhm.
So there's no work for me if they're not work. So I can only help. I'm
Right.
not building. I'm only guiding. So the good thing about it is that most people might be dealing with a Fortune 500 CEO or a C-suite exec or a small startup guy down the street or a guy who's working somewhere and he's looking to start up. Regardless of their starting point, doesn't matter. Um, they have to have a willingness to unlearn, and because to grow, there's always unlearning. It doesn't mean that you're deficient or you're lacking or whatever. It just means that you're trying to go somewhere you haven't gone before, and there's a reason. And so this is why we're in front of each other. But if there's a moment when the client declines the recommendations that are required of them, there's no more for us to go. And so I was saying it's a challenge for me because sometimes it ails me because if I see something in somebody, I usually want to fight more than they want to fight. I want to fight to bring that out.
Right.
And like I'm very invested in people's growth. I'm very invested in change, but I'm very clear. I'm not here to change anybody. I'm here to work as a co-partner with somebody. As long as they're willing to walk this out, might it be somebody in my chair, might be somebody in my office, might it be somebody in my family. I can't do what you won't do. And so that's part of the discipline you learn in this journey is to know where the boundaries are so that you can be safe and you don't disrespect somebody else's journey.
Shay, thank you.
Okay. Frequency of promotion says the barber is the constant. Big up to all barbers who do not get the credit they deserve. Some are great sounding boards, and others are a beacon of light. Trust me.
Mhm.
Then let me ask you. Let me put it out there with yourself. Um, what conversations happen in your chair that don't happen anywhere else?
Mm, Everything, like the bright moments where they get a eureka through the conversation because and so there's two chairs we're talking about. We're talking about the office chair and we're talking about the barber chair. Still barber, a private clientele. Then I do my architecture as well. And so the barber chair is probably the most valued chair in my life. It's the greatest gift point. But like I've heard guys share awakenings. Like I remember during the 2008 real estate meltdown, I remember a gentleman who was multimillionaire. He found out in my chair that he lost everything. And I watched him just and it wasn't one of those loud cries. It was the silent cries, which is the hardest cry for me as a man to watch another man do, because there's deep, deep, deep pain, and there's obviously going to be change beyond that moment. Mm, I remember, so I was working at a barber shop in town Toronto. I was fortunate to work with Robin Williams at the time, and I didn't know. First, I didn't recognize him at first because of the state that he came in, but I was very immature at the time. I didn't have the emotional intelligence that I have today. I didn't have the ability to navigate sensitive life issues the way I do today, and possibly because I didn't have it back then is why I have it now. But like he didn't talk, he didn't engage, but he was insistent. So I took it personal, and I was like, well, he doesn't want to talk to me. You should go to another barber. You should go do something else, whatever. And he kept on coming back. And it wasn't until years after he had passed that I realized that he was coming and he was speaking without words.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that like that's a gifting of a barber, an evolved barber. And that's why there's always levels to everything. An evolved barber can hear the unspoken conversations as long as the barber or just the person, as long as the person is not so dialed into their own internal conversation. So that's part of the rules of life, being able to know when to check your own voice so you can hear somebody else's, right? And so during that time, those were his cries for help. And so that was a defining moment for me because I didn't hear it until after he was gone from the planet. And so it started to shape the way I listen. It started to shape the way I interact. And once again, it was another clue for me along the way that this direction the position I stand in today was where I was supposed to be. Because there was nobody guiding me to identity architecture. But the experiences that I've lived through, that I survived, that I overcame, that I now stand at this post, which really is all new evolved ground. But I've been able to hear men come to the realization that they weren't being the best version they were for their spouses. I've been able to hear men realize that they were disrespecting their own calling, their own identity by shrinking to fit into somebody else's dream and aspirations for them. And so, from being a safety sounding board, from being a student, um, a lot of my accomplishments in my world really came from the fathers, and I call them fathers. Some of them are younger, some of them the same age, some of them older, but I call them fathers because they helped to raise me up in things that I didn't have formal education for. I learned real estate from the guys that sat in my chair. I learned to evolve in business through the guys that I interacted with. So it wasn't always just me pouring into them; I was poured into too. And so you're talking about conversations, every single lane, like guys wrestling to see about, I don't want to go home. Can I get another service? Because I don't want to go home. It's not that they're getting beat, it's just that they were getting beat. So those are fortunate stations that I've been able to learn through secondhand people suffering and just when people are wrestling with their own situations. And I've been fortunate to be a guide along that journey that they're on.
Huge, huge, huge. One of the things we talk about, in coaching and whether it be counseling and consulting and these things is deep listening. And I'm sure this is something that you've been doing for quite some time, and those who you work with, which is grounded in presence and non-judgment, silence and empathy and curiosity, patience and reflection, and listening beyond words, which is what I took from that you spoke about in terms of Robin Williams. You looking beyond just what he wasn't saying, but some of the things that you saw in terms of whether it's his body language, what he brought, and conversations that maybe you had with him and things you shared. We're going to go into a little rapid fire round of questions and just to see kind of what comes to mind when you hear these questions. And the first thing that comes to mind, we're going to go with. Are you ready? Beautiful. One word that defines true masculinity.
Courage.
Discipline or motivation.
Discipline.
What breaks more men, pressure or silence?
Silence.
Biggest threat to a man's identity today.
Biggest threat, lack of accountability.
A leader must always have.
Vision.
Healing starts with what?
The willingness to change.
What's harder, success or self-awareness?
Self-awareness.
Ego or fear, which controls more men?
Oh, which control. Good one. Fear.
Most underrated trait in a man.
Is commitment to provide for others.
And one habit every man should develop.
His ability to love himself completely.
And you know what? I had one more. What does peace look like for you?
Peace, a nerd, man. Peace looks like walking around listening to an audiobook.
Beautiful.
Any recommendations? Anything that you're listening to now that you think others should be listening to as well? What do you listen to? What do you really like?
You know, a book that I really encourage all guys to listen to, regardless of where you are, starting point, ending point. Iron John, Robert Bly. It's a tale about overcoming in every area of our life to become the best version of who you are. Life.
Okay.
Iron John, Robert Bly.
Okay. All right. All right. So you heard it here, folks. It's something that we need to get into this week if we can. Sounds like it was good.
I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay. All right. All right. Vibe, you got a question, or you want us to keep it moving?
No, I want to talk about this. Experience CIA. Talk about it.
Yes, sir. So that is the place where everybody, man, woman, organization, where you're looking for transformation, that's where it's at. Life changes. So Experiencia is my identity architecture company. And so that consists of consultation, experiences where you're able to come to be heard, to be seen, to be understood, and to discover how to keep on evolving. Experiencia provides a variety of different else. So there's a phenomenal. If you haven't taken an assessment to discover more of who you are, you can go to that website and you can find it right there. There's amazing workshops going on this summer. Beam called Alleyne, called Steward. Beam is all about finding out the truth about who you are, remembering that, your giftings, your talents, and what allows you to shine in the world in your true form. Alleyne is about how do you make the right choices in line with who you are. So the right choices in relationships, in vocation, in an environment, where you're supposed to be living and working, and how do you live out your truth. It's one thing to know who you are. It's another thing to live in that reality. Because a lot of times people spend a lot of time just talking about, I want to know who I am, I want to know who I am. But it's a whole lot to live aligned with that truth. And it's a constant journey to be doing that. And then steward is how do you keep on growing that? How do you keep evolving that? You know, and so Experiencia is my project that I've been working on with a team of friends and partners and building a whole journey. There's also a beautiful thing that we're doing right now called Forge, which is a part of the men's chapter of that called the Gentleman's Standard. And Forge is it's a community of brotherhood. You know, one of the things I've learned through the years is that when I was younger, I understood it at surface level because I used to run with a huge crew of guys. That's where me and Kofi really got a chance to get to know each other. But as I grew as a man, I started realizing that I don't have a real brother unless I have accountability. So without accountability, without being able to someone to sharpen me, to correct me.
You're getting a little choppy, Brent, if you can hear us.
No, I think he froze for a minute. He's dropping the gems. If you can hear us, brother,
Let's hope he comes back. He froze on us.
maybe it's to be continued. He's just giving us a little, tidbits for now.
Okay, so let's bring him. Okay, so let's hope he can come back to us. We're coming to the top of the hour, so we may just want to give any parting thoughts.
Yeah, sure.
In regards to, so what are some takeaway thoughts from our conversation today, gentlemen?
Well, for me, if it's okay if I go first, for me, I'm really big about, lineage and understanding that, that family constitution. So I'm glad he dropped the story about that. And of course, stories are more powerful sometimes than, just simple, words, right? But kind of putting that story out there. So I think it's important that, as men, as families that are listening, there's for us to be aware of as much as we can, digging into our personal history, our family history, maybe our community history, our people history, to better understand who we are and how it may shape our purpose moving forward. So I definitely coming away with that, and I want to build on that. So I love that piece. So yeah.
Kofi Morris.
100%. I'm glad you started there, because that was the root of the conversation. That's what kind of grounded how we started our conversation today. And we spoke about things that we've discussed many times on the show, which tie it all back together to who am I? Who we are collectively. What does that look like in terms of living with the truth of your aligned life, making the right choices? He spoke about your North Star and what that looks like and how that shaped, who he became, which tied right back to purpose. And we spoke about the identity crisis, temptation, what that looks like, how we utilize time, how we go back to what are those default settings that guide us, even when things get challenging in our lives. How do we kind of get back to basics? The role of the Creator in our lives, and we spoke about God being saving grace when he fell, when he was going through challenges, and moving from a position of truth and living to create a difference. These are some of the themes that we explored tonight. And I would implore you, if you didn't get to hear tonight's whole show, is that you listen to the replay, take some notes, because there's a lot of things that was explored tonight, but also this piece around what we do with the conversations that we have. How do we put things into action in our lives? And how do we hold each other accountable? We spoke about being part of a brotherhood, but recognizing the importance of that pure accountability. And I think that's what the piece around the Forge provides. Hopefully he will be able to hop on back and close and wrap up that piece, and also speak about the event itself. Maybe we can also put it up on the screen, Dr. Vibe, in a moment. After your wrap up, maybe we can put it on the screen and then see if Brent's able to come back with us.
Well, I did put on the screen when we was chatting about us. Also, it's in the comments section on anyone that's watching it on any of the platforms that I have. It's in the comments section. Everything, Brenton's contact information and the experience and the Forge event is there. Interesting. The word accountability came up a lot in the conversation, and the first person you got to be accountable to is yourself.
Sure.
And I'm not stamping on anything that was said, but it's great to have accountability partners. It is very good. I have nothing against it, but the first person you got to be accountable to is yourself. There was a book, and also a book I read many years ago. I can't remember. Well, I know the author's name, but not completely. The book title was "What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself?" And some people say when you talk to yourself, you must be crazy. But I always say that when each one of us speaks, the first person that hears it is the person who's speaking.
Right. True.
So definitely it's great to be accountable to others. But at the end of the day, it all starts with you being accountable to you. So I don't think we're going to get him back. So let's make it a conversation. There's Brenton's information, website, email, Instagram, phone number. There is his project, Experiencia. So if Kofi said that, there he is on email. So he's the only outlier now. so Kofi Morris knows what I'm coming up to. So there's email address, Instagram, Maroon, and also YouTube, Nazareth Community, Facebook, paul.osborne.31. And Kofi Morris has jumped to the other side. He didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't know.
Let's go.
So one link for Kofi Morris now, toplink.cc/Kofi Coach. So right. Who's the outlier now, right?
Gotta get on it, guys. You gotta get on it now.
Well, it's also good for marketing. It's good to have one link for everything.
True that. True.
You know, it's just easier. For myself, taplink.cc/the drvibeshow.com. As always, if you want to get in touch with the show, Blk Men CAN Talk. And I'll spell it out. BLAKMENCANTALK @gmail.com. And as always, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show website, and also Paul Osborne on Facebook. Great conversation today, gentlemen.
Yes.
Rock the house. And definitely, if we can get him back, there definitely needs to be a part 2 because there were some things that were left on the table that need to a little bit go deeper on. And Kofi, thanks for bringing Brenton onto the platform. It's appreciated, not taken for granted, sir.
Harlem Brothers, look out for that event once again, June 13th. I'm hearing some echoing. But June 13th is the event, so all that information.
Okay, so I have a question. Brenton has jumped back in. What do you want to do?
Well, I think it'd be good for him to just complete that.
It's nice, last bite of the apple, and then we can wrap.
Okay, so let's see if we can get Brenton back.
Yes, sorry about that, gentlemen.
No worries.
Technology.
Yes.
Get it.
So, gentlemen, go for it. We have a few more moments, and we'll let him do his thing. What do you want to ask him?
Yeah, so we're kind of in the wrap-up section. So, you know, we usually wrap with kind of any parting words, something that you want to, you know, let people know maybe that is coming up for yourself as well. So maybe if you can maybe share that, maybe if there's, you know, folks that are listening now and you really want to just kind of give, you know, kind of a gist of one message you'd like to give to folks, you can let us know. And as well, please let us know if there's anything that's coming up, any events, any things that you might be planning.
Absolutely. Well, I'd definitely like to start with the invitation first, and then close out with a message. As I mentioned before when I got disconnected, this monthly thing that I do called the Forge, we're doing it again next month on June 13th, a.m. in the morning. Join us. You guys as well, come and join us. It's a training. It's not, once again, it's training through physical, but it's training through brotherhood, training through what we call the fire. And so this one is, because it's the week before Father's Day, fathers and sons experience. We're all coming. If you got a kid, you got a father, you can bring them. Or if you don't, still come, because there's many of both fathers and sons that need to be spotted. And it's a moment for us to really grow and strengthen what needs to be strengthened and keep on growing. So that's June 13th. You can register on our website, experiencia.me/forge. But my big message I'd love to leave with everybody is level up. Each and every single one of us, we know secret call that's within us to do something different, makes our lives more distinctively better. Our lives, limited amount of potential. Sometimes through wounds that we've suffered, we've been fighting valiantly, through things that have been slowly corroding within inside of us, we have not given the steps that are required to go to the next level. And I speak from first person who's lived it. Encourage each and every single one of us, and not only to do it for ourselves, but to do it everyone that we love. Keep on going further. Don't ask anyone to believe in you. First, ask yourself. Believe in you through disciplining you through day-to-day choices. Keep on pushing to see yourself, to honor yourself every single day. Find a way to honor yourself. Because once you're doing that for you, when you're honoring yourself better, you discipline yourself better, you will do greater for others. The reason why I say level up, because there's more. There is more. There is more. And I'm not talking about more as in eating more, about there's a greater version. I'm here as your guide, as your friend, as your brother on this journey, wanting to help you either just be a sounding board, be a guide, just be a guide cheering you on, saying, hey, we got this. God got us, most important. The fact that we got each other, but God got us first and foremost. He's calling all of us up. So that's my call and my charge to every single one of us in every area of our lives. Find the area that requires us to level up. Let's do that.
Shay.
All right.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Great way to end off the conversation. So what I'll say here is, as always, this is how we ended off. And again, Brenton, thank you. Overcoming the technical challenges, you made it happen. You found a way. So as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and always make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. Take care, everybody.
Bless.